Greetings Internet, it's Monica, and today I am going to be sharing with you all my 2021 reading goals and resolutions, and I'm really excited because this year I've decided to take a new approach to how I create my reading goals for the year and also how I try and actually accomplish those goals, because I don't know about you all, but I feel like in years past, what I've done for my reading goals is that, sometime at the beginning of January, I set these kind of arbitrary goals or lofty ideas for how I want my reading to proceed for the rest of the year. And I tell myself, these are things I'm going to do. And then maybe I'll do them for like a day or two, maybe even a week. And then the rest of the year happens. And I find myself sometime in November either scrambling to try and accomplish all the goals that I am behind on, or getting overwhelmed by how badly I did at sticking to those goals and then just ignoring them completely. So in an effort to not do that, I have adjusted my methods for creating reading goals. And I've done this by adapting some of the methods that I use in my own personal life and in my work life to see if maybe they can work for my reading life. So basically, I have created my 5 overarching reading goals for the year. And for these goals, I really tried to focus on things that were ways in which to be a better reader overall, because that's really my goal with setting reading goals in the first place, is that I just want to be a better reader. So I really tried to think about each of my goals, why I'm setting them, and just be more mindful about what I'm choosing. So there's that. And then I'm also going to be doing quarterly reading goals. And so these quarterly goals, so it's going to be 3 goals for each quarter. So for every 3 months throughout the year, 3 goals that will help me work towards those 5 larger goals. And then within those, I have little tasks and things that I can accomplish in order to actually push myself forward versus, having some big task or change or goal that I want to see happen. This way, I can actually take steps to make that change happen. In this video, I am going to be walking you through those top 5 reading goals that I've set for myself, and then I'm going to walk you through how I am setting my quarterly goals and sharing the goals that I've set for this first quarter of 2021, so for January, February, and March. But before I dive into all of that, I do want to give a big thank you to this video's sponsor, which is Serial Box. So Serial Box publishes immersive fiction in audiobook and ebook formats sold together for one low price. With their audiobooks, they produce full-scale audio experiences with sound effects and background noise to make the story as realistic and impactful as possible. I love that you're able to easily toggle between audio and ebook formats without ever losing your place. The platform knows exactly where you left off each time. Plus, you can get the first episode of any serial for free. They have a wide range of genres, including sci-fi, fantasy, mystery, thriller, historical, and horror. There's a story for everyone at Serial Box, with their catalog of over 150 titles accessible via the website or app. Some may feature characters you already recognize, like Marvel Avengers such as Black Widow, Thor, or Black Panther, or David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. Others are heroes and villains you haven't ever met, and once you do, they'll be impossible to forget. A new Serial Box release is Memory Lane by Sarah Shepard, the New York Times bestselling author of the Pretty Little Liars series. In this serial, we follow Alex, who, after receiving her mother Cassie's implanted memories in a scientific study, experiences events from her mother's past, events Cassie claims never happened. When the memories reveal a drowning Cassie witnessed decades before, Alex must rely on her unreliable mind to evade a killer determined to bury the truth. Another Serial Box release to look forward to is Marvel's Black Panther: Sins of the King, which launches on January 28th with the first 3 episodes. You can check out Serial Box in the link in my description and get a story of your choice for 50% off with my code MonicaSerialBox. So thank you to Serial Box again for sponsoring this video, and also thank you to all of you who have been so incredibly supportive over the past few months as I've been able to do more brand work. It has honestly meant so much to me to be able to focus even more on creating content that I love here on YouTube. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for that. Now, without further ado, I'm going to dive on in and talk about those reading goals. So my first reading goal is to build consistent reading habits. So I chose this goal over the goal of like reading a certain number of books because honestly, when it comes to the number, like setting a number of books, like when last year I set my reading goal to 100 books, really what I was saying was that I want reading to be a consistent and big part of my life. I feel like what I do now is that I will pick up a book and I'll read and I'll feel so good. Like reading helps me so much when it comes to my mental health and just feeling good. I don't know how to describe it, but it just helps so much with my anxiety. And so whenever I read, I just end up feeling so great. However, then I don't pick up a book again for like 2 weeks. And then I do it again and I'm like, wow, I feel so good. I should do this more often. And then the cycle continues. And I really want to make it more of a habit for me to read daily as much as possible. And it's not for lack of time. Like I spend hours every day on social media, scrolling constantly on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. And I don't want to like remove the ability to engage with that content because I love those platforms and I love spending time on them. But I think it would be healthier for me as a person to scale back at least a bit and to try and use that time for reading whenever I can. So that's my goal. I just want to be more consistent and I want to make it a habit as opposed to a thing that I do every once in a while. I'm like, oh yeah, I should do that more often. And then, don't do again for days or weeks, sometimes months. Especially in 2020. 2020 was rough. So that is goal number 1. My second goal is to shop my personal library. I definitely am guilty of just getting really excited for new books, new stories. I hear about something and I'm like, that sounds amazing. I think I'm going to love that one day when I read it, and I haul it and I put it in my library and then when do I read it? And not to say that like I don't read my books, like I do, but I think overwhelmingly I purchase more than I read, and I don't think that's good for my use case. Like I don't mean that for everybody. Like if you have the space to have a giant life library, that's amazing. Congratulations. Wish I were you, but I don't. Like I have my bookshelves and I love them, and it's honestly such a treat to even have the bookshelves that I do have because I haven't had something like that in years. So I love that, but I am not someone who has like a whole library or who has walls and walls and walls of books. And that's definitely a dream of mine one day, but for the person that I am today and the space that I have today, I definitely buy too many books. So I need to cut back on that, and I just need to be better about, really focusing and remembering why I purchased the books that I purchased in the first place and trying to retain that excitement for things that I buy. That's something, I don't know if you guys are like into the Enneagram, but I'm an Enneagram 7 and that is like a big thing for Enneagram 7s is this kind of thing of like trying to acquire new things as like in order to get that little like spurt of happiness, because you view it as like, okay, this is going to be the one, this is the thing that I'm going to like cherish forever, or that I'm going to love the most. And so you get it. And then it's like, okay, now the next thing. And obviously like other people, other numbers do that too, but like that is kind of a characteristic of 7s in general, and it's something that I am definitely aware of with myself, and I want to try and build some healthier habits when it comes to hauling books, just so that I am not hauling more than I can actually read and more than I can actually like contain within my space. And I also want to be more mindful about the books that I'm holding on to also, because there are some books that I've carried from place to place, from year to year, and I haven't unhauled them yet for a variety of reasons. Either I read them and I want to talk about them in the video, and then they just kind of got lost in the shuffle, but I want to be more active in unhauling and removing books that I am not going to be actively reading anytime in the near future. Goal number 3 is to continue promoting and reading Korean authors and Korean literature. This is something that is maybe the thing that I am proudest of on my channel. I get so excited when any of you tag me on Instagram or Twitter or wherever in that you read a Korean book that I recommended. Like, that is so exciting for me. And honestly, like, to be part of the sort of like Korean wave of media that is happening right now, even in my small way, is like such an honor, and I want to keep doing that in 2021. So yeah, that is a big goal for me. Continue reading Korean fiction, continue promoting it and talking about it on my channel, and I definitely want to keep doing that for many years to come. Goal number 4 kind of ties into this, and that is to build broad and diverse TBRs. This is something that I think I've done pretty organically over the years, and especially I feel like last year my reading was really broad as far as like genre and age category, but I want to be more purposeful in this moving forward, at least in 2021, and just kind of track it a bit better than I have in the past. I mean, I honestly haven't tracked it at all in the past, so tracking it in the first place I think will be great. For this, I think I'm mostly going to be using Notion, which is like a productivity website and app that I've been using a lot recently, and I've been loving it for a variety of things, including my library and reading and everything. So yeah, my goal is to try and track this better in Notion throughout the year, and so then I can actually see what I'm reading and, you know, the genres that I'm leaning towards and the gaps in sort of the diversity in what I'm reading and all of that. So that is a goal for me. And then lastly, goal number 5 is to be a better reviewer. And I wasn't sure how exactly to word this. I might change it like eventually. But when I say reviewer, I don't just mean like publicly reviewing for other people. I also mean for myself, because I think for me, when it comes to reading, is I feel like I finish a book and, sure, maybe I'll talk about it in a video or post a Goodreads review, but I'm not consistent about doing that for every book. And I don't really have a place where I document my thoughts while reading a story. And I really want to be better about that. I want to be better about just having that sort of a place where I can sort of, use what I'm reading in order to actually like grow as a person and, be thoughtful about the novels that I'm consuming and the way that they're affecting me, or what they're making me think about, any questions they're making me think about. And I just want to be better about that. And so that's going to happen both privately in my Notion account, where I will be, saving all of those notes and just trying to have more consistent prompts that I answer for myself or think about while I'm reading. So there's that. But then also publicly, I want to be able to use all of that in order to just be better in the way that I'm talking about books online and the way that I am reviewing books or sharing them with you all. And then I also want to try and do more one-off book reviews. That's something that I really have not done in ages, and I really want to do that, because sometimes I finish a book and I just get so passionate about it. I want to sing it from the rooftops, and sometimes including it in a wrap-up or a reading vlog just isn't enough. And for that, I don't really foresee myself doing that as much on YouTube, but I am hoping to use things like Instagram Reels and TikTok in order to share some of those one-off pieces of content of like, hey, here's a book, I love it, here's why you should read it. I love videos like that on both of those platforms, so I'm definitely hoping to make some of my own, and I think that'll be a really fun place just to like have a place to celebrate books even more. So yeah, that is my wanting to be a better reviewer goal. All right, so I've now grabbed my computer so I can reference my Notion, and I'm going to be talking about my quarterly goals. So like I mentioned earlier, my quarterly goals are basically smaller and more manageable ways for me to continue working towards those big 5 goals. I feel like when it comes to goals and resolutions, they're really just ideas at the end of the day, and unless you have like real tactical methods for putting those ideas into practice, they're just never gonna happen. And so that's my goal. How many times am I gonna say goal in this video? But that's my goal with these quarterly goals. And I also am excited because this means that I can come on here every 3 months or so and share with you all an update about how I did over the last 3 months and how I'm currently doing about my my top 5 reading goals of the year, and then also set the goals that I have for the next 3 months. So I think that'll be just a fun way to kind of document everything, and I'm sure I'm gonna fail plenty of times throughout this year. That is, a given, but I'm excited to just, be more purposeful and to put more effort into actually trying to be a better reader versus just like having an idea at the beginning of the year and then like throwing it out the window 2 weeks into January. So with that in mind, my first quarterly goal for the first quarter of the year is to build up daily reading habits. So this of course goes along with that first goal, and I really just want to start off the year strong and try and build up this habit as early as possible. So over the next 3 months, that's really my focus, is looking at how I can just make reading part of my every single day life. So I have 3 progress goals for this quarter, and they are: first, to read every day for at least 30 minutes. The second one is to make reading a part of my morning and nighttime routine. And then the third one is to read 15 books in total by the end of the quarter, so by the end of March. So with these 3 goals, especially with the second one, again, I feel like my morning routine is that I wake up and I roll over and I look at my phone. My nighttime routine is that I get in bed and I sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to read in a second, but first I want to look at my phone. And then it's midnight and I'm like, I have to go to bed, So I just want to not do that. I want to really focus on having reading be those first and last things that I do, because I just find them really soothing and helpful for me as a person. For this, I've set a few different tasks that I hope to complete over the next few months that will help me actually achieve those progress goals. The first one is to read 30 minutes in the morning. The second is to read 30 minutes at night. Those are kind of self-explanatory. The next one is to host Instagram or YouTube reading sprints. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little while, but I wasn't sure if anyone would be interested. But I thought it would be fun if any of you also want to try and get in the habit of reading more, or you're just looking for a reading buddy, is to try and host some reading sprints where we just hang out and read together. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Especially if you want it here on YouTube. I've never really done YouTube lives before, so every time I do a live, it always is on Instagram. But if you would be interested in me hosting those here on YouTube, let me know, because then I will do that. But otherwise, I'll probably just host them mostly on Instagram. So be sure to be following me there if you are interested in those sprints. So yeah, I really want to do some just live sprints, hanging out with you all and reading together. I feel like that's just a great way to really make reading, like to really focus on reading. And then the second one kind of goes along with that, and it's to read with friends. So something that I started doing last year that was really helpful for me was to read with friends on Discord or via FaceTime. And again, I just found it really helpful as a way to kind of force myself to focus. And that's also why I like read with me's. So yeah, I thought those 2 would be good goals to have, and just like making reading part of my everyday life. And my second goal for the quarter is to really try and kickstart that overarching goal of reading my library more. So my goal is to read more books I own. And for this, my 3 progress goals are: first, to add my full library to my Notion. So I think that'll be really helpful for me to just have a place where I can like search through the books that I own and also like see the number that I own. I think that'll honestly just be a good thing for me to see, just so I can look at that next time I'm thinking about buying a book and be like, hey, you have like this many that you still have to read. And definitely for me, I have the tendency to buy a book, be really excited for it, it goes on my shelf, and I kind of forget why I was so excited for it, what made me buy it in the first place. And so I'm hoping to kind of document that better in Notion, so that when I am looking through it, I can see that and I can retain that excitement for those stories versus kind of getting it and then forgetting about it. So I want to have that in my Notion by January 15th so that I can use that throughout the rest of the year. And then my next goal is to limit my inbound of books to 5 books a month, which is honestly a bigger number than it should be. I don't think I really buy more than 5 books a month normally. Like every once in a while I might have like a big month where I buy a lot, but for the most part I feel like I don't buy that many books every month. But I thought 5 would be a good number just to start off with, and that includes books that I personally buy myself and any books that I accept from publishers. So I just set that limit and we'll see how it goes through the next 3 months, and then I'll adjust it as I need for the rest of the year. And then the next progress goal is to do an unhaul by the end of March. So that's a video to look out for sometime in April. And then the tasks that I've set myself for this one are a bit more like reading challenges. So my first task is to pick a book from my Korean shelf. Task 2 is to read a book from my middle grade shelf. 3 is from my classic shelf. 4, my graphic novel shelf. And 5 is to pick a book from my book spine. And my hope is that basically that will give me a bit more direction so that I'm not just like staring at my bookcase being like, what do I read? So yeah, those are my tasks for goal number 2 for the quarter. And then my final goal is to complete series that I've started. So this definitely goes along with trying to be a better reader and reviewer, because I think for me, something that I have a horrible habit of doing is that I read a book, first book in a series, and I fall in love with it, sing its praises, and then I never read anything else in that series. And, you know, I could wax on about why I think that is. I think a big part of it is because I hate endings and I like to savor things, you know. So if I'm really excited for something, it can take me ages to like read it, watch it, whatever. So I just don't want to do that to myself. That's so annoying, like personally. So I really want to try and continue working through some of these series that I've started and to like actually complete them. So the 3 that I chose are first, the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I want to complete that series this quarter. That is a goal. I loved that first book. I talked about it like in every video in 2020, and I want to be able to actually talk about the whole series. So that's first progress goal. The second one is Heartstopper. I read that also in 2020, loved it, bought the rest of the books that are out. So I just want to be caught up to that. And then the third one is Wicked Fox. I read that a few years ago, loved it. The second book came out last year and I never finished it. So yeah, those are my bookish goals, my resolutions, and also my new method for how I want to actually accomplish these goals. I'm really hoping that this will just enable me to be a better reader overall, enable me to be a better booktuber and a better person, because having good habits is a good thing that I need to start doing in a lot of places in my life, and reading is one of them. I would love to hear from you all what your goals are for the year. Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you again to Cereal Box for sponsoring this video. Once again, info all about them will be in the description box below. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye!